Back here on the East Coast for race number 6 here in the 2025 Haas IndyCar Series season. And this week we are heading to Nazareth, Pennsylvania for yet another oval race here in the IndyCar Series. The first one, I think, since our season opener over in California. But we are here at one of the shortest ovals that we head here this season. It's going to be a really fun race ahead of us here today. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Wawa Indy Nazareth, here from the Nazareth Speedway. What's going on, everybody? Caleb here, and welcome to Wawa Indy Nazareth here at the Nazareth Speedway. Race number 6 here on the 2025 Haas IndyCar Series season. It's been an interesting season here so far. Can't wait to see how the rest of the season will go down, but we're here from the Nazareth Speedway. Definitely ought to be a very, very interesting race. Got a 72-lap race ahead of us here today, a little bit further than the race last year, which was only 66 laps. Should definitely add a lot of interesting factors here today, including a second pit stop that these guys will have to go through. Of course, you might have seen last year's race here, where Thomas Troxel went to victory lane because of fuel strategy. You saw a lot of cars come down the pit lane towards the end of the race, as they just couldn't make it to the end, but this race, we should have a guaranteed second pit stop for all these guys. So that definitely ought to make things interesting, no doubt about that. But we're in for a fun one here from Nazareth. Of course, we had the season opener from the CSX Indy Lights series here at this very racetrack a couple days ago. Hope you all enjoyed that one. It was a lot of fun to do, and can't wait to see what kind of show this track will put on here in the main series of Haas IndyCar Series season. And joining me alongside here in the booth, we've got Nathan Stapleton back up here. Thank you so much for joining me here from the Nazareth Speedway. And of course, I think you saw last year's race. You know, it was a very interesting race. This is a track it's very tight, very narrow, pretty hard to pass at, but you still can make a move. And especially here in the early stages of this race, where everyone's kind of double file, we can potentially see a lot of chaos. It'll be interesting to see what kind of race this will turn out to be, but what do you think we'll probably see today here from the Nazareth Speedway?
Well, I think last year's race could be an indication of what we see here today. Hopefully not exactly. But this racetrack is a very flat racetrack, just under a mile in length, and you definitely want to be on the bottom most of the race here, and it's gonna be interesting on what ends up happening. A little bit longer, like you said, 2 pit stops instead of 1. Strategy is gonna be a factor. Hopefully we don't see as much chaos as last year, but if last year's race had anything to say about it, we just have to wait and see what ends up happening here. But I'm looking forward to it. First oval in a while for the Haas IndyCar Series.
Definitely will be interesting to see how everything will play out, and even with the longer distance, this race is still going to go by pretty quickly. These guys pretty much just about going to be setting 20-second lap times around here. Blistering fast, so definitely be interesting seeing these guys absolutely hauling around this racetrack. But we'll just have to wait and see how it all goes down. But taking a look here at your point standings, coming into race number 6 of the season, I kind of mentioned at the start of the season, will we see another Bradley Bradshaw? And I think we kind of are, with the number 79 of John Andrews. He's absolutely dominated the season so far. He comes in your points leader. He's still yet to finish outside of the top 10. But could we potentially see things change here today? He's starting about mid-pack on that outside lane, which is not necessarily where you want to be around the Nazareth Speedway, so we'll have to see how he does here today. But then taking a look at the rest of your top 10 in points, we got Zachary Fitzwater, who's also had a really good season up to this point, coming in second, 17 points back. Another driver who's had a really good season up to this point is Tanner Parton, and he looks to continue that here today, and he's actually starting on the pole position there in that number 8 for Vision Motorsports, so good stuff there for him. Have to see if he can maybe nab his second win of the season. But he comes in this race 26 points behind your points leader, John Andrews. Fourth in points is one of your drivers, Nathan Brennan Wilmington, 43 points back from the lead. Then you got the man himself, Bradley Bradshaw, coming in fifth in points, 58 back. Bruno Giacomo comes in 6th, 59 back. Christian Vargas comes in 7th, 60 back. Andre Baranowskis comes in 8th, 61 back. Angel Olvera comes in 9th, 63 back. And your winner at the last race out of the Lime Rock Park, BB Ruiz, rounds out your top 10 in points, coming in 64 points back. And speaking of points, there's another thing I kind of want to highlight here, because this is going to be a very critical race for a lot of our owners, because the owner standings after this race is going to dictate the team owners that get an invite to run an extra car for the Indianapolis 250. So the top 6 in points here after Nazareth will be the first to receive invitations to open up a third car for the Indianapolis 250. So, that's probably definitely on all the team owners' minds, including yours, Nathan. And you're coming in a pretty good spot. You're coming in 5th in the owner's standings, along with Trackhouse Racing, Autoron Motorsports, Vision Motorsports, BO Racing, and Dog Pound Incorporated. And I have to see how everything will shake out here from Nazareth, but as I always used to say, we'll just have to wait and see how it all goes down. But I think it's about time we get these guys rolling here from the Nazareth Speedway. Quickly, before we do, we'll take a quick look here at your starting lineup here for Wawa Indy Nazareth from the Nazareth Speedway. Of course, as I mentioned on the pole, we've got the number 8 of Tanner Parton, and he's starting alongside the number 23 of Jay Knapp. Row number 2, we find the 83 of Braden Perez starting alongside the 04 of Luna Lona. Row 3, we have the 39 of Dylan Matthews starting alongside the 75 of Justin Zidell. Row 4, we got the 99 of Max Anderson starting alongside one of your cars. Nathan got the number 97 of Aaron Abel. Rounding out your top 10, we got a couple of cars that are top 10 in points. We got the 07 of Bradley Bradshaw starting alongside the 40 of Angel Olvera. Nathan, I'll have to put you on the spot here. Who do you think is going to be going to victory lane here today from Wawa Indy Nazareth?
Well, I am liking some of these drivers on the inside lane. And you know what? I like the track position. Give me the number 39 of Dylan Matthews here today. He's going 5th on the inside lane. And I think if any chaos happens, you want to be on the inside lane up towards the front. That's exactly where Dylan Matthews is. And maybe at 2019 for Echo Evans Ross Racing can get the win here today. But if not, then I might just staple change number 1 here for Wawa Indy Nazareth.
Definitely. I do think Dylan Matthews starting in a good spot there on the inside of row 3. Just have to wait and see, though, how everything shakes out. But here we go. The pace car makes a left-hand turn into the pit lane as these drivers go through turns 3 and 4 into the front straightaway. It's going to be the 8 of Tanner Parton and the 23 of Jay Knapp, who's going to lead the field to the green flag. Here we go, we're racing here from Wawa Indy Nazareth from the Nazareth Speedway. That was a great jump from Tanner Parton off of the start. He comes by to lead the opening lap. Braden Perez slots into 2nd. Dylan Matthews slots into 3rd, but went a bit wide there through turn 1. Now, with how tight and narrow this track can be, it's a really easy track to make mistakes at. Really often we kind of see some of these drivers overshoot turn 1. It's a very kind of awkward corner. And that's honestly where we usually see a lot of our chaos come from. We saw that big pileup in turn 1 last season after we saw 3 wide get attempted going into turn number 1, but so far so good here from Nazareth. We got 3 wide back here, and in the middle of that we got the 79 of John Andrews. But it looks like he might get out of that, but he's still going to be side by side here with the 27 of Ace Garcia. And John Andrews kind of going backwards here early, stuck up on that outside lane, which is not where you want to be, as he continues to kind of plummet through the field here. Still got a long ways to go here from Nazareth, but definitely not the start that John Andrews wanted. But I'll tell you who definitely got the start that they wanted, and that's the 8 of Tanner Parton. He had a great start, and he's kind of opened up the lead back to the 83 of Braden Perez. And it's smooth sailing out in front right now for the driver of that number 8.
A fantastic start from Tanner Parton, and it's going to be interesting of how this race is going to shake out, because like we've said already, this track, it might be a mile long, but these guys absolutely fly on you. We're already 5 laps in on lap 6 already, and that's just going to be very crucial on pit stops, because if things stay green, it's going to be about 10 minutes until pit stops, about 20 seconds a lap. That's 3 laps per minute, so it's going to fly here. And Tanner Parton doing a great job out front, as far as the top 6 in the owner's standings. Hopefully, and that's racing is one of them for the Indy 500, Indy 250, rather than be awesome to have a 3rd car in that race. But everything's single filing out, got some battles throughout the field, but these guys just being a lot more calm than last year, that's for sure. But great, nice start from Tanner Parton.
Definitely nice to see a clean start here so far, especially compared to last year. We've got a lot of shakeups here going on inside of the top 10. Of course, Max Anderson has made his way up to 3rd. Bradley Bradshaw up to 4th. Duncan Ward in the 13 has made his way up to 5th. Pretty sure he started outside of the top 10. So great stuff there from Duncan Ward and Brad Stover. Dylan Matthews right now settling in 7th. Chris Reynolds is 8th. 9th is the 5 of Nicholas Samadillo, and it's really nice to see Samadillo finally having a good run so far this season. It's not been a good season at all there for Mr. Edge. Hopefully he can finally bring himself home a good run here. And then you got Carson Miller, who's had a couple solid runs so far this season, continuing to impress there in that Durrani Racing 86, currently running right at the inside the top 10. And right outside, you've got both of the Dutch Atlantis cars, and Ace Garcia and Bieber Ruiz, with the 23 of Jane Knapp right behind him. Aaron Abel's dropped back a little bit since the start, but still having a good run there right outside the top 10. And Brendan Wilmington looks like he's made up quite a decent amount of ground since the start. He's made his way up into the 18th position. Now I think looking for 17th on the 75 of Justin Zidell, and looks like he's going to take that spot away. And Noah Clifton's going to follow through as well. And Tanner Parton right now has got over a 2nd lead, but there's still a lot of battling going on the racetrack. It's honestly, if I had to really describe it, this is an oval that kind of races like a road course. So you usually see a lot of passing, but everybody's spread out. That was a huge lunge there from the 23 of Jay Knapp. Ran Ruiz up the track, and that might cost him as well, as here comes the 88 of Anthony Hernandez. Oh, a lot of aggression here early on in the going as well. But still just smooth sailing out in front for Tanner Parton. Now almost a 1.4 second lead. And kind of like I mentioned, it kind of races like a road course. We're seeing Tanner Parton kind of pull away right now. It'll definitely be interesting to see how the pit cycle will influence the running order, which will be coming up here in just a short lap's time. Like you kind of mentioned, these laps will absolutely fly by. And coming to lap 14 right now, we're already about halfway to those cycle of pit stops here from Nazareth.
Absolutely, almost halfway of the first round of pit stops, and a fantastic start from Vision Motorsports and Tanner Parton. This team's been on a roll when it comes to the ownership side of things, both in the D-World Cup Series, World Cup Series, IndyCar Series. After he put notes to what he's doing when it comes to the ownership side of things, and a 1.5+ second lead now with Tanner Parton absolutely flying out here. Great one from the 63 of Logan Williams in that 2nd place spot, 99 of Matt Sanderson as well. But back to that close call. I don't remember who it was, but all it takes is one close mistake, and we could stay terrible at Keystone Nazareth. This track is really, really fast, and the racing line is very narrow from what I'm noticing up to this point. So these guys have to be careful. Minding the P's and Q's right now. First battle on the racetrack, right here between the 39 and the A machine. It looks like the A, of course, is easily going to get that spot. And unfortunately, Gil Matt has not gotten the jinx here today, as she keeps on dropping and dropping in that 39.
At least she's still running well, which I think is definitely better than a lot of the unfortunate victims of the Staple Jinx can say. And honestly, I can't really be talking right now because I've also jinxed way too many drivers than I would like to admit. But well, Matthew's kind of still slipping back on that outside lane, but is going to be able to get back down to the inside behind the 27 of Ace Garcia. Nicholas Samadillo continuing to run well here still so far. And might have a battle heating up here as Bradley Bradshaw has closed into the 99 of Max Anderson, looking to maybe take that final spot on the podium away. Duncan Ward also kind of hanging not too far behind. Yeah, pretty bittersweet day here so far for Vision Motorsports, as they've got Tanner Parton out in front dominating. Unfortunately, not been the best day so far for Aljo Baranowskis. You've also got Justin Zeidel not having the best of days, who I think he had a pretty good run here last year. Also got Lane Smith Jr., Christian Vargas, and Angel Gutierrez having tough runs. Definitely not the ideal day they would like to have, but maybe they can make something happen on the pit cycle. We'll just have to wait and see. And yeah, John Andrews also having a tough day. All around Motorsports as a whole having a tough day, which is not the best to see. But still, like I said, long ways to go left in this race, and a lot of stuff can still happen. You know what we always say, it's not over until it's over, and it's far from over here from Nazareth. Tanner Parton now with a almost 2.5, well, not almost, he has over a 2.5 second lead back to the 83 of Braden Perez. And then these guys have kind of just been all on top of each other back here. Braden Perez, Max Anderson, and Bradley Bradshaw are all pretty close to each other, and if one of them makes a mistake, all the other cars are definitely going to be right there ready to pounce. But coming to lap number 23 this time by. Here in just a couple laps time, we should see that cycle of pit stops open. And this track does have a decent amount of tire fall off at the end of the run. We should see about a second of fall off for these guys. So I guess the question of the hour is, do you want to undercut or do you want to overcut?
That's going to be a very tough situation, because there's going to be 2 pit stops in this race. It's not just one like last year, so you got to also plan for that second stop. Honestly, I probably wanted to go with the undercut, get the track position. It looks to be very important here, as of course Singapore has a 3-second lead, but really we got a 4-way battle for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th, and just fantastic stuff between these 4 cars, and that's really pit stops are going to be very interesting, because say that the number 13 of Duncan Wood is able to jump these other 3, then he would be up in 2nd and be in a position where if something happens to Tampa, and I don't want that to happen, but if something did, then that 2nd place could capitalize. But pit stops are right around the corner. Got 2 of them here today instead of 1, so the pit crews have to be on it, and right now it is all Tampa on a 3-second lead. He was fastest in qualifying, and he has been lights out as he gained several tenths last time by.
He has been absolutely lights out since the drop of the green flag. Definitely has got a lot of gusto in his step there, and I have to see, hopefully his pit crew has the same. That'll be coming up here in just a couple of laps, but now, I guess while we were talking, he's opened up that gap by about a second. So I think it's pretty safe to say that Tanner Parton might definitely have the car to beat here today from Nazareth, and these guys continuing to battle for the podium places. We saw Bradley Bradshaw there kind of go a little bit wide there through turn 1 a couple of laps ago, but he's managed to kind of pull right back into the back bumper of the 99 of Max Anderson, who's trying to reel in the 83 of Braden Perez. Anderson goes a little bit wide, and here comes the 07 of Bradshaw. Here we go. for the third position. Bradshaw on the inside. Anderson might have got a bit of a run there off of the corner, but Bradshaw is going to stay side by side, and Bradley Bradshaw is going to go by here through 3 and 4, and he's going to take that final podium spot away from Max Anderson. Taking a look here, you've got Brad Stover still inside the top 10 up to 6. Reynolds, Carson Miller, Dylan Matthews, and Nicholas Samadillo. Brendan Wilmington in the 98 up into 16th with Aaron Abel just a couple cars back. And here we go.
Oh, here we go.
Lap 29 coming to lap 30. Tanner Parton is going to lead the field in. Going to be Tanner Parton, and let's see who came in with him. Duncan Ward's going to come in with him. So is Dylan Matthews and Nicholas Samadillo. I would definitely guess the call is going to be 4 tires and fuel for all of these guys. And it does look like that is indeed going to be the case. And here comes the second group, and seeing a lot more cars here coming in on this time by lap 30, coming to 31. Looks like everybody is going to make it in clean. We saw a bit of a pit lane incident during the Indy Lights race where we saw the 17 of Andrew Williams overshoot the pit lane entry. And yeah, this could be a pretty treacherous pit road. Of course, it's pretty hard to get onto and definitely pretty hard to get off of, as well as the exit and entrance lines are pretty much blending right into each other. So far, so good, though, as everybody cycles out of their pit stops. Here comes the 83 of Braden Perez, Bradley Bradshaw. There is the 55 of Noah Clifton, and Tanner Parton is way out ahead of the 83 of Braden Perez. There goes Clifton, diving into the pit lane. I think he was one of those that kind of stayed out a little bit longer. And we'll see where everybody stands once everything gets cycled out here. But it looks like Tanner Parton might be holding on to the race lead here. There goes the 80 of Chris Reynolds. Max Anderson lost a little bit of ground there under that pit cycle. He's been passed by the 13 of Duncan Ward, who's honestly kind of come out pretty close to the 07 of Bradley Bradshaw. But should be seeing Noah Clifton come out of the pit lane here. There he is, and that should be the last car of the cycle. And so with all of that said and done, it does indeed look like Tanner Parton in the 8 will hold on to the race lead, now by 4.7 seconds back to the 83 of Braden Perez. Then you got the 07 of Bradley Bradshaw, Duncan Ward, Max Anderson rounds out your top 5. Then we got Dylan Matthews, Chris Reynolds, who is under fire though from the 5 of Nicholas Samadillo, Brad Stover, and Anthony Hernandez. Good cycle there for him. He's going to come out in the top 10. And you got Carson Miller, the 2 Dutch Atlantis racing cars of Garcia and Baby Ruiz right there outside of the top 10. Yeah, Tanner Parton's pit crew absolutely delivered there under that pit cycle. They did indeed bring the same gusto as they did for the car. And Parton now with almost a 5-second lead as we conclude our first cycle of pit stops here from Nazareth.
Well, I was gonna say I like what Duncan Ward did during pit stops, but never mind. Fantastic stop and almost a 5-second lead. We might have a battle for the second place spot though between Bradshaw and the 07, and then Logan Williams in the number 63. These three are battling really hard for second. And if only Tampon was with these guys, then we would have a 4-way battle. But just lights out dominance from Tampon so far. And this race is just flying on by with a really long leg one. Nice to see how chaotic this race was last year. And it is just flying on by. We're already about 22 laps away from the second line of pit stops around lap 60. And that is not what Bradshaw needs to do. And Duncan Ward might be able to get that third spot if Bradshaw makes another mistake like that. But great racing all over this 1 mile track of Nazareth, but it's all Tampon. Getting a little bit caught though, but he has a almost 5-second lead. He doesn't need to exactly push it like he did before. I like the second place battle that is starting here between Williams and Bradshaw though.
Yeah, Of course, the last run we saw Tanner Parton absolutely just build up that gap lap after lap, but this time around, Braden Perez is kind of just holding that gap steady. Like you said, he kind of closed in that last time by, but he slips up through 3 and 4, and that's going to open the door wide open for the 07 of Bradley Bradshaw. He takes a peek down to the inside, and through turn 1, he's going to clear the 83 of Braden Perez and move himself up into second. Here comes the 13 of Duncan Ward as well, pulling up to the gearbox of the 83 of Braden Perez. We'll have to see if Bradley Bradshaw might have anything for the 8 of Tanner Parton. Now that he's gotten up to second, he's got that clean air, and he closed in a 10th. It's definitely a pretty sizable gap to make up. But well, honestly, if anybody could do it, it could be this 07 of Bradley Bradshaw. Like I said, still far from over this race, but past halfway now here from Nazareth, and still got 1 pit cycle to go. But Tanner Parton still looking pretty sporty out in that race lead.
Impressive stuff from Tanner Parton. There is a slight gap over Bradshaw in 07. I think he has the fastest car out of those 3 battling for that second place spot. So it's really going to be interesting on if Bradshaw can really close in any significant gap on that machine. And he did gain 2/10 last time by, so it's not over. I don't think he can make all this up, but what Bradshaw needs to do is just close into maybe a second or 2, and then do something interesting with that second round of pit stop. Maybe do the opposite of what Tanner Parton does. If Parton does an undercut, do the overcut, or if Tanner Parton does the overcut, do the undercut. You gotta try something different. He's gained another 10th, about a 10th or 2 lap. He'll be about 2 seconds away if he keeps on doing that. So it's not over. I think the second fastest car on the racetrack is now in second, and Bradley Bradshaw here. And once again, that's 3 or 4 laps in a row where he keeps on gaining about a 10th a lap. So it might be a big gap, Caleb, but it's not over yet for this race win.
Definitely, it looks like the pendulum has swung now in the favor of Bradley Bradshaw as he just continues to chip away at that lead lap after lap. That time bike kind of stayed the same, but he's gotten it down to about 4.3 seconds. Yeah, we still got that 1 cycle up at the stops left, so it could definitely be really interesting to see how it plays out, but I'll have to see just how much Bradley Bradshaw can gain here on this run. He needs to be careful not to burn out his tires too much, or else Tanner Parton will just start to pull away once again. But Bradshaw's doing good right now. Closed in another 10th that last time by, and he definitely seems fast because he's kind of pulled away a little bit there from the 83 of Braden Perez and the 13 of Duncan Ward. So Bradshaw definitely has some speed in that 07. Potentially speed that can compete with the 8 of Tanner Parton, but the question is, can he catch up to him? But he just continues to chip away at that race lead. Another 10 from the 07 of Bradley Bradshaw. This will definitely be interesting, and Tanner Parton might be closing in to the back of the field. 75 of Justin Zidell, currently the caboose on the field right now. And he just went through turn 1, and there goes the 8 of Tanner Parton through turn 1. Don't know if he will actually catch up to them. We'll have to wait and see. And you got the 25 Lynn Smith Jr., the 1 of Baranowskis, Gutierrez, Clifton, and Logan Williams. Yeah, definitely far from over is this race, as Bradley Bradshaw closed in a lot the last couple laps. He's gotten the gap down to 3.8 now. Kind of closed in a little bit more that last time by. I think Bradshaw definitely has a car that can compete with the 8 of Tanner Parton, but like I said, the question is, can he catch him? So now we're about 2/3 of the way through Wawa Indy Nazareth, and quickly closing into that second and final cycle of stops. This is definitely getting interesting here from Nazareth, as that time by Bradshaw lost a little bit of ground.
Yeah, that was definitely the most ground that he's lost so far in this attempt at closing in. But it is 4 seconds. It was 5, and now it's 4. It's under 4, and just want to apologize to Logan Williams for getting his hopes up. I was saying Logan Williams was in third always. That's actually been Perez in the 83 instead of 63. Need my glasses checked, but great one from Brian Perez in the number 83. And I think, unfortunately, I think Bradshaw might burn up his stuff with now the 2 laps in a row. It's been 3.9. See what it is this time by Bradshaw is pulling away from Perez.
Oh.
And he gained a lot last time by 3/10. And maybe he was saving. You know what? I think he might have been saving his stuff for a couple laps, and he just gained 3+10 right there.
Hello, Bradley Bradshaw. We might have just woken up the 2024 iteration of Bradshaw. He closed in a lot there. See if he can continue with this time by. He does. About 2/10 that time by. Bradshaw, he's on rails right now. This could definitely get interesting here, especially under this last cycle of pit stops. But like I said, we'll just have to see how close can Bradshaw get. If he can get at least decently close, he might be able to put himself in a position to do something under the cycle, and still, he's absolutely turned on the jets here in the latter part of this run. Now almost got it down to 3 seconds in just a matter of a couple laps. That 07 is flying. There's absolutely no doubt about that.
I think the last 10 laps of this one, I think Bradshaw was saving his stuff a little bit, and he has a long run machine right now, and it's now under 3 seconds. I would say maybe lap traffic is affecting Tampa, but I don't think he's caught to the back of the field yet, and no, he's not. So he's not in a 8:38. This is just that 07 of Bradshaw just kicking up the fire jets on the late part of this one. Another 2/10. It was 1 or 2/10. Now it's almost getting to the point where it's like 2 to 4/10 per lap. And if he keeps on doing this in a couple laps, he might be about the range I was talking about. You know, he needs to be about 2 seconds, and then hope that his pit crew can do something. And that's all you can really do. 2 seconds is really manageable, and it's gonna be once again. And he did lose a 10th last time by, but it's gonna be close. It's gonna come down to that second round of pit stops on who undercuts and who overcuts, and whose pit crew is more on the game right now. Because I think pit crew is gonna really determine on who wins this one.
Definitely, this is gonna be a money stop here for these pit crews, especially for the 8 of Tanner Parton and the 07 of Bradley Bradshaw, who both right now absolutely have the car to beat. And here we go. Tanner Parton, he's going to dive into the pit lane, and now what does Bradshaw do? He stays out. Like you said, he's doing the opposite of what Parton does. He might try to go long here. We'll have to see how this works out for him, but Parton is going to dive into the pit lane for his second stop. And he might be the only one. This could definitely be interesting here.
This is exactly of what Bradshaw needs to do. To the opposite.
Oh yeah, Bradshaw's going long.
Oh yeah, he's definitely doing the opposite. I don't know, maybe he got into Bradley Bradshaw's head, and he's like, I'm just gonna do the opposite, and I'm just gonna be the first one down pit road. And that's exactly what he's doing, and we'll see what ends up looking out. He kind of did that the first round, and it's gonna be really close on who ends up getting this one.
For a second there that Parton and Reynolds might get into it there, but the 8 is just going to cycle out right behind the 80. And here comes the 07 of Bradshaw. Actually, the 80 of Chris Reynolds is going to stay out another lap. He led that last time by. So Reynolds really going long here. He's just going to have about 10 laps after he makes his stop. And there he goes into the pit lane. Anthony Hernandez, B. Ruiz. Also some of our last ones to come down. There's the 83 of Braden Perez. And we'll have to see where Bradshaw comes out. There he comes. He's out of the pit lane. There goes the 8 of Tanner Parton. But we'll see how far back Bradshaw will be from that 8 car once they get up to speed.
I think it's less than 2.5 seconds. I think it might be about 2 seconds.
It might be. Bradshaw's still getting up to speed here, but we'll have to see what the gap looks like. See. Still cycling things out, as still showing Reynolds as the race leader. But it looks like, I think this time by, it will credit the 8 of Tanner Parton with the race lead. But I do think Bradshaw might have gained a little bit. We'll have to see as they come around this time by. Actually, there's still some cars yet to cycle out. 13.391, 15.661. Think he might have closed in a little bit. Ooh, but this could definitely get interesting. Parton now might have a lapped car in between him and the 07 of Bradshaw and the 25 of Landon Smith Jr. Yeah, Tanner Parton will officially presume the lead or not, because still got the 55 of Noah Clifton really running it long here. There he is finally in the pits. Yeah, I think the gap is about 2.3 seconds. About 2.3, 2.5 seconds for the 8 of Tanner Parton, so he's still got a pretty decent cushion. Bradshaw's really going to have to go hard if he wants this one, and yeah, 2.7 is the gap back to the 07 of Bradshaw, and he went a little bit wide there through turn 1. Here comes the 83 of Braden Perez, who actually closed in on Parton through that cycle of pit stops, down to 3 seconds for him. However, like I said, now there's a lapped car in between the 07 and the 8. And now that everything's cycled out, to see Bradshaw lost a little bit that last time by. Maybe still trying to get his tires up to temperature or something, but just a couple of laps to go. It's looking pretty good here for this 8 of Tanner Parton.
We saw it all day, and we especially saw in that second one. Bradshaw has a long one car, and this is not a long one. This is a short one, the shortest one of the day, and I think Tanner Parton, he's had the better short one car than Bradshaw, and unfortunately, he's getting challenged from behind from Blaine Perez, who might take second away from him. But still gonna be a good day for Bradshaw and his 07 team. Just, I don't think it's gonna be enough. Had to try something. He's gonna flush the tires, then the 8 machine, but it's not gonna be a lot of time. There's only a handful of laps to go in this one, and Tanner Parton started on the pole, dominated this race, didn't lead every lap, but he's the every lap that he has not been on pit road, essentially done pit road cycles in just 3 laps time in about 1 minute. Unless anything stupid happens, he will dominate and win at Nazareth.
Coming to 2 laps to go here from Nazareth. It's been an absolutely lights out domination from the 8 of Tanner Parton, looking for his 2nd win of the season. Won earlier in the year at Coda, I believe. And see where the 73 of Andrews is. This is not a good run for Andrews. This is going to effectively end his top 10 streak right here, and could definitely potentially put Tanner Parton within striking distance. Might even take the points lead with this one. We'll just have to wait and see, but here we go. White flag in the air, 1 to go here from Wawa Indy Nazareth for Tanner Parton in Vision Motorsports. What a year it's been here in the IndyCar Series so far for Tanner Parton. Like I said, 1 at Coda. He's had an absolutely spectacular start to the season, and he's going to add another one to that wins column through turns 3 and 4. 2nd win of the season for Tanner Parton. He wins here at Nazareth.
Ooh,
Bradshaw barely got second there over the 83 of Braden Perez. Perez took a swipe at him there late in the going, tried to take second, but Bradshaw held on just barely. But Tanner Parton, he was able to hold on a little bit more than barely, I would say. Just a little bit more.
It wasn't a 5-second lead. It was at one point, but it's still almost a 3-second lead at the end.
So what a valiant effort from all these guys, Bradshaw and Braden Perez. Tanner Parton absolutely had the car to beat during that first run, but especially after that first cycle of pit stops, they definitely gave him a run for his money there. Fortunately, Parton, he just had too big of a gap after that first run, and just absolutely walked away with that one. But a very spectacular race here from Nazareth, and it is Tanner Parton going to victory lane for the second time this season. Great stuff there from Tanner Parton. And Bradley Bradshaw absolutely gave it his all there. He did such an excellent job just cutting away at that gap there during that second run. Still going to come home in the second position. Bradshaw's also one of those cars that's up there in points, so could be a pretty big point stay here for Bradley Bradshaw as well. Then you got the 83 of Braden Perez rounding out your podium. Great stuff there for Perez and GRT Team Velocistar. And looking further on down the order, you got Max Anderson coming home in 4th, Duncan Ward coming home in 5th, Chris Reynolds brings it home 6th, Dylan Matthews comes home 7th, Nicholas Samadillo comes home in 8th. Things you'll love to see right there. Bieber Ruiz is 9th, and Brad Stover is going to round out your top 10 here from Nazareth. Man, what a race here from Nazareth. Definitely a very interesting race, and just absolute domination there from the 8 of Tanner Parton. With that said, final thoughts, Nathan? What do you think about what we saw here today from Wawa Indy Nazareth here from the Nazareth Speedway?
Unlike can describe this race, absolute domination from Tanner Parton. Second win on the season, I believe he's the only driver to get 2 wins on the year, and he looks like he could be a championship contender here in the Haas IndyCar series. And with John Andrews having a rough day, that's going to, at a minimum, put Tanner Parton in second in points most likely. And it's going to be interesting on what ends up happening throughout the rest of the season, because if this keeps on happening, we could have a scenario where it's John Andrews versus Tanner Parton for the Drivers' Championship. It's going to be very interesting. Great one from Bradshaw there. If only Tanner Parton did not just lights out cook the field on that first one, then I think it would have been very interesting, because Bradshaw had a better car in the second one, but he was able to bail hang on to get third, to get second over Braden Perez, who got third, Matt Sanders in 4th, and Duncan Wood in 5th. All those guys, Bradshaw, Perez, and Anderson, and Wood, they all battled very hard in that second one, and that was very exciting to see, but definitely a lot calmer of a race than it was last year for these guys. Good to see after that race was wild last year, but domination from Tanner Parton. Second win on the season already, and we'll see of what he can do throughout the rest of the season in the IndyCar series.
Definitely be interesting to see if Parton can continue this momentum. We'll just have to wait and see how it will all go down. But what a race here from Nazareth. And the next race ought to be interesting as well. It's the Cook Industries Kansas 125K from the Kansas Speedway. That race will be going up on Thursday, May 8th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then y'all know what's coming after that. After Kansas, we will be getting into Indy 250 week. One of the most exciting weekends, or one of the most exciting weeks of racing here on the channel, and especially here in the IndyCar series, because we got the Indy 250 coming up in about a month's time. So definitely keep an eye out for that. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I guess here in just a minute we'll find out who will be the 6 teams who will get invites to run an additional car in the Indianapolis 250. So team owners, make sure to keep an eye out for that. But what a race here from Nazareth, and what a win there. Absolute domination from the 8 of Tanner Parton. But with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching. Once again, congratulations to the 8 of Tanner Parton, and thank you, Nathan, for joining me up here in the booth. And I will see you all from Kansas. You all take care, and as always, y'all have a good one. Here is your point standings after race number 6 on the season.